16 tips for reducing allergy symptoms in the spring.
And welcome again to 6 Weeks to Wellness with Jan Fitzpatrick of inVibeHealth.com. Jan, we're kind of wrapping up our 4-part series, all about different aspects of spring cleaning, because it's that time of the calendar coming up. At least we're hoping it comes very, very soon. 16 tips for reducing spring allergy symptoms. I know I get them, lots of people do. So what are we going to cover in this particular episode?
Well, spring allergy symptoms are telling you that your immune system is overloaded and a little weak. And here are some tips that we're going to cover that have worked for us and our clients to minimize exposure and maximize our immune systems.
All right, and we're going to chop it into 3 main categories here: bedtime, rest and sleep, and clean your nose. Now, if you want all 16 tips, you'll have to come on over to the blog post that Jan has done over at inVibeHealth.com. But Jan, let's go through some of these categories here. Bedtime.
Sure. Bedtime.
What's the spring and bedtime going to do for us here?
Well, we're talking about pollen, really, and the accumulation of pollen. Make sure that you get a new pillow every year. Springtime is a good time to get a new pillow. And if you can't do that, you can just take a vacuum cleaner and reverse it and suck all the air out of it, put it in a plastic bag and suck the air out of it. And that will help to clean it. And make sure it's a non-allergenic pillow as well. And if you're out and about a lot, you may want to change that pillowcase at least twice a week, because it follows in the next part about take a shower before you go to bed. You don't have to wash your hair, but just rinse yourself off, because if you don't, when you lay down your head at night into your pillowcase, you're just going to be rubbing that pollen into your face, and you're going to be breathing it all night.
That is such a good point, Jan. I've really never thought about it until you just said that, because, of course, springtime you go outside, you see your car is covered with that greenish-yellow pollen layer. Well, of course, that's actually getting on me as well, and I just don't think about that. Excellent.
Yeah, and that's also people who hang their clothes outside. Don't do it in the spring. Same thing. It accumulates the pollen. You'll be sleeping in pollen all night. You don't want to do that.
Never thought about that.
And if it's really hard, if you have a lot of symptoms, just close up your house, shut all the windows, and use your AC, and you'll have a better night's sleep. It's that important to get sleep.
I have to say that has made all the difference in the world. I mean, I put a really nice, good filter on my AC system, and because it's now circulating the air, it's just kind of catching an awful lot of that stuff. But
it does.
So excellent. So, all right. Bedtime wasn't what I thought we were going to talk about, but I didn't. No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, you've really kind of popped some ideas in my head that I never thought about with pollen like that. So let's talk about rest and sleep. So what comes up in this category?
Well, in springtime, you may feel a little bit sleepier. Even I don't really have allergies, but there have been some springs where, like you said, you could write your name on the hood of your car.
Exactly, right, yeah.
And it gets in my contact lenses. It feels like gritty, but it's not really an allergic response. It's just fact there's just so much stuff in there.
Yeah.
And your immune system is working really hard, so you may be a little bit sleepier. Well, go with it. Get to sleep an hour earlier, and maybe even take a nap, because that's when your body regenerates itself, and you can get more energy, or you can also do a little bit of healing during that time. The other thing is avoid exercising in the morning, because this is when the pollen is the heaviest.
Okay.
So
if I'm a runner and I typically go out for a run, morning in the spring is actually not such a hot idea if I'm prone to allergies.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're a runner, you don't have allergies, but it's a lot of pollen, don't go out in the morning either.
Right, because it's still an irritant, like you were saying. Even if I'm not having a true allergic reaction, I mean, absolutely.
It raises the level of inflammation in your body.
Okay.
And then drink more water to flush things out, even more than you usually do. Okay. Water is a great way to get things out of your body.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's my favorite drink. I mean,
Good.
But it does definitely helps. Okay, so obviously, if I'm having sinus and allergy problems, it's all kind of up in here. So when you say clean your nose, tell me about that.
Most people by now have heard of neti pots. I know they have the saline solution that you can also do.
Janet, I call it waterboarding, but it's. I mean, you know, I don't love doing it, but it's such a great thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, and the nasal sinus things, they just don't do the same, because your nose is your gateway to your respiratory system, and it needs to be washed just like your skin and your teeth. And you really need to breathe out of your nose because that's your filter. You have a filter in your furnace. Well, your filter is really your nose. So if you're exercising any time and you end up breathing out of your mouth, you're exercising too hard. You should always be able to filter the air through your nose. And a neti pot, in the blog there'll be a link where you can actually watch a video and learn more about what it does. But basically, you clean your nose with it. And if you do it every day, you can prevent problems that may start to occur because you're literally washing any viruses out. And you're washing away the pollen in your nasal passages. So the reaction, if there is going to be one, is usually swelling. Well, if you get it out of there, you won't have that happen to you. On times when there is a lot of pollen in the air, when I get up in the morning, because I leave my windows open, I do a neti pot every day, and sometimes when the pollen is so bad and I've been outside during the day, you can just feel it. I mean, you feel it everywhere. And I do a neti pot at the end of the day as well, so that I sleep better.
I always sleep better. I mean, it's like I get lazy sometimes and I have to sort of relearn this, and you know, I won't sleep as well, and I'll get a sinus infection or something like that. When I am using that neti pot on a regular basis, I sleep better. I don't get the sinus infection. You'd think I'd learn by now, right? Well,
we forget to do the preventative things sometimes.
Well, right, and then
we feel like we're okay.
You start to take it for granted, and then you have to relearn the lesson. You know, it's like, oh yeah, I was feeling a lot better when I was doing the neti pot.
Yes.
Well, Jan, that about wraps up our 4-part series on all different aspects of spring cleaning. We've taken quite the journey, and if people have missed any of those other episodes, I'll tell you in a minute how you can, make sure you catch them all and get connected to them all. But in this episode, we've been talking about, spring cleaning a little closer to home, inside the body here. 16 tips for reducing spring allergy symptoms. I don't know if we had all 16 of them here, but they're certainly on the blog post. So we put them into 3 categories here. We talked about bedtime issues that affect your allergies, rest and sleep issues, and then ways that you can actually literally clean your nose and feel a whole lot better and avoid getting sinus infections and big allergy reactions. So if you've enjoyed this episode and you missed any of the previous ones, guess what? They're all available for you. All you have to do is come on over to inVibeHealth.com, where Jan is just a content-producing machine. She has all kinds of video series, all kinds of blog posts, but even better, she has her book, which you'd have to pay for over at Amazon.com, but you can get just by clicking on the book banner at inVibeHealth.com. Just enter your name and email address. You'll be on the mailing list to get all this great information, and you'll have an instant download of the book itself. So, Jan, we've got more content coming to people real soon with a whole other 4-part series, but right now I think we're well prepared for spring thanks to you. So thanks, Jan, for all this great stuff, and I will see you on the next series.
And thank you for joining us.